that I'm going to see you so I can talk. I know you're honest, and I know you're brave. Why, I can see your whole character in the way you've stayed by your friend, and if there's a possible way of helping you, I'll do it. But you must promise me first that you'll never cross the man with the sneer, as you call him." "There's a sort of fate in it," said Ronicky slowly. "I don't think I could promise. There's a chill in my bones that tells me I'm going to meet up with him one of these days." She gasped at that, and stepping back from him, she appeared to be searching her mind to discover something which would finally and completely convince him. At length she found it. "Do I look to you like a coward?" she said. "Do I seem to be weak kneed?" He shook his head. "And what will a woman fight hardest for?" "For the youngsters she's got," said Ronicky, after a moment's thought. "And outside that, I suppose a girl will fight hardest to marry the gent she loves." "And to keep from marrying a man she doesn't love, as she'd try to keep from death." "Sure," said Ronicky, "but these days a girl don't have to marry that way." "I'm going to marry the man with the sneer," she said simply enough, and with dull, patient eyes she watched the face of Ronicky wrinkle and grow pale, as if a heavy fist had struck him. "You?" he asked. "You marry him?" "Yes," she whispered. "And you hate the thought of him?" I don't know. He's kind " "You hate him," insisted Ronicky, "and he's to have you, that cold eyed snake, that devil of a man?" He moved a little and she turned toward him, smiling faintly and allowing the light to come more clearly and fully on her face. "You're meant for a king of men, lady. You got the queen in you. It's in the lift of your head. When you find a gent you can love, why, lady, he'll be pretty near the richest man in the world." The ghost of a flush bloomed in her cheeks, but her faint smile did not alter, and she seemed to be hearing him from far away. "The man with the sneer," she said at length, "will never talk to me like that, and still I shall marry him." "Tell me your name," said Ronicky Doone bluntly. "My name is Ruth Tolliver." "Listen to me, Ruth Tolliver. If you was to live 1,000 years, and that gent with the smile was to keep going for 2,000, it'd never come about that he could ever marry you." She shook her head, still watching him from a distance. "If I crossed the country and followed a hard trail and come here tonight and stuck my head in a trap, as you might say, for the sake of a gent like Bill Gregg, fine fellow though he is, what do you think I would do to keep a girl like you from a lifelong misery?" And he dwelt on the last word until the girl shivered. "It's what it means," said Ronicky Doone. "Lifelong misery for you. And it won't happen. It can't happen." "Are you mad? Are you quite mad?" asked the girl. "What on earth have I and my affairs got to do with you? Who are you?" "I dunno," said Ronicky Doone. "I suppose I'm a champion of lost causes, lady. Why have I got something to do with you? I'll tell you why. Because when a girl gets past being just pretty and starts being plumb beautiful, she lays off being the business of any one gent, her father or her brother. She starts being the business of the whole world. You see? They come like that, about 1 in 10,000,000. And I figure you're that one, lady." The faint smile went out. She was looking at him now with a sort of sad wonder. "Do you know what I am?" she said gravely. "I dunno," said Ronicky Doone, "and I don't care. What you do don't count. It's inside that matters, and the inside of you is all right. Lady, as long as I can sling a gun, and as long as my name is Ronicky Doone, you ain't going to marry the gent with the smile." If he expected an outbreak of protest from her he was mistaken. For what she said was: "Ronicky Doone? Is that the name? Ronicky Doone?" Then she smiled at him. "I'm within one ace of being foolish and saying but I won't." She made a gesture of brushing a mist away from her and then stepped back a little. "I'm going down to see the man with the smile, and I'm going to tell him that Harry Morgan is not in his room, that he didn't answer my knock, and then that I looked around through the house and didn't find him. After that I'm coming back here, Ronicky Doone, and I'm going to try to get an opportunity for you to talk to Caroline Smith." "I knew you'd change your mind," said Ronicky Doone. "I'll even tell you why," she said. "It isn't for your friend who's asleep, but it gives you a chance to finish this business and come to the end of this trail and go back to your own country. Because if you stay around here long there'll be trouble, a lot of trouble, Ronicky Doone." Now stay here and wait for me. If anyone taps at the door, you'd better slip into that closet in the corner. Will you wait?" "Yes." "And you'll trust me?" "To the end of the trail, lady." She smiled at him and was gone. Now the house was perfectly hushed. He went to the window and looked down to the quiet street with all its atmosphere of some New England village and eternal peace. It seemed impossible that in the house behind him there were... He caught his breath. Somewhere in the house the muffled sound of a struggle rose. He ran to the door, thinking of Ruth Tolliver at once, and then he shrank back again, for a door was slammed open and a voice shouted, the voice of a man: "Help! Harrison! Lefty! Jerry!" Other voices answered far away. Footfalls began to sound. Ronicky Doone knew that Harry Morgan, his victim, had at last recovered and managed to work the cords off his feet or hands or both. Ronicky stepped back close to the door of the closet and waited. It would mean a search, probably, this discovery that Morgan had been struck down in his own room by an unknown intruder. And a search certainly would be started at once. First there was confusion, and then a clear, musical man's voice began to give orders. "Harrison, take the cellar. Lefty, go up to the roof. The rest of you take the rooms one by one." The search was on. "Don't ask questions," was the last instruction. "When you see someone you don't know, shoot on sight, and shoot to kill. I'll do the explaining to the police, you know that. Now scatter. And the man who brings him down I'll remember. Quick!" There was a new scurry of footfalls. Ronicky Doone heard them approach the door of the girl's room, and he slipped into the closet. At once a cloud of soft, cool silks brushed about him, and he worked back until his shoulders had touched the wall at the back of the closet. Luckily the enclosure was deep and the clothes were hanging thickly from the racks. It was sufficient to conceal him from any careless search, but it would do no good if anyone probed, and certainly these men were not ones to search carelessly. In the meantime it was a position which made Ronicky grind his teeth. To be found skulking in a woman's clothes in a closet, to be dragged out and stuck in the back, no doubt, like a rat, and thrown into the river, that was an end for Ronicky Doone indeed. He was on the verge of slipping out and making a mad break for the door of the house and trying to escape by taking the men by surprise, when he heard the door of the girl's room open. "Some ex-pugilist," he heard a man's voice saying, and he recognized it at once as belonging to the man who had given the orders. He recognized also that this must be the man with the sneer. "You think he was an amateur robber and an expert prize fighter?" asked Ruth Tolliver. It seemed to Ronicky Doone that her voice was perfectly controlled and calm. Perhaps it was her face that betrayed emotion, for after a moment of silence the man answered. "What's the matter? You're as nervous as a child tonight, Ruth." "Isn't there reason enough to make me nervous?" she demanded. "A robber, heaven knows what, running at large in the house?" Murmured the man. "Devilish queer that you should get so excited all at once. No, it's something else. I've trained you too well for you to go to pieces like this over nothing. What is it, Ruth?" There was no answer. The voice began again, silken smooth and gentle, so gentle and kindly that Ronicky Doone started. "In the old days you used to keep nothing from me. We were companions, Ruth. That was when you were a child. Now that you're a woman, when you feel more, think more, see more, when our companionship should be like a running stream, continually bringing new things into my life, I find barriers between us. What is it, my dear?" Still there was no answer. The pulse of Ronicky Doone began to quicken, as though the question had been asked him, as though he himself were fumbling for the answer. "Let us talk more freely," went on the man. "Try to open your mind to me. There are things which you dislike in me. I know it. Just what those things are I cannot tell, but we must break down these foolish little barriers, which are appearing more and more every day. Not that I mean to intrude myself on you every moment of your life. You understand that, of course." "Of course," said the girl faintly. "And I understand perfectly that you have passed out of childhood into young womanhood, and that this is a dreamy time for a girl. Her body is formed at last, but her mind is only half formed. There is a pleasant mist over it.